See. Okay.
But then again, who knows?
Right. All right.
Hey,
Who's the
Jim.
second Wayne Benjamin?
Hello.
Oh, it's Luana.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
I'm gonna change your name, Luana. For some reason you're popping up as
Well, I forwarded the link to her because she asked, where was it? So,
Yeah. I for some reason I don't have the Zoom link. All I got was the link for the general meeting.
okay.
So
Got it.
thank you. Yeah, just wanted to be here.
Well, I'm glad you are, and we do have 8 members of the committee present. We have
yeah,
9.
Luana is not my other twin. No.
No.
I wish.
Well, in the interest of time, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:31, and now it's 6:32. Thank you all for joining and being on time. I want to dive right in. I'm sure other folks probably have things right after this. I have to sleep. So I'll jump in with the review of the calendars with March 2026, which we did cover last month, and I don't recall there being too many edits. But in the drive, we included an updated version. So chairs, if there are any edits that you have at this point for that month, let me know. Okay, seeing none. The only flag I have for March, you may have noticed 2 additions towards the end of the month on the 26th. Help us spread the word. We are doing a Rat Academy. Thank you, Paula, for organizing the Rat Academy. That is on March 26th at 1 p.m. It will be at the CB12 office in our conference room. The purpose of Rat Academy, I think, is to train folks on particularly superintendents, maintenance folks within residential buildings about best practices. And so the Department of Mental Health and Hygiene, Health and Mental Hygiene, always get that acronym wrong, will be the ones leading that workshop. So if you want to help us spread the word, please do. We'll share additional information as the weeks pass. And then the second edition is taking place at the very last day of the month on March 31st. We are conducting a public hearing hosted by our Youth and Education Committee and our wonderful chair of that committee, Chair Tanisha Grant, with the focus being primarily on charter schools in the district. Again, more to come on that. We're over a month away. The goal will be to invite representatives of charter schools, parents of charter schools, of students who attend charter schools, and our elected officials. More to come. If there are no questions or comments, we can move on to April. Okay, seeing none. The April calendar was also added into Google Drive. Chairs, any questions or comments about the April calendar?
In recognition to, sorry, do I need to raise my hand? I'm so sorry.
No, go for it.
Okay. I just want to make sure that my meeting does not fall on any of the Passover days that Liz has mentioned or any other holiday. Second Monday of April. I know that's very close to Holy Week, Passover, Ramadan. So I just want to make sure that my meeting does not present a conflict with any of those holidays, because I'm not well versed in all of the holidays. So that's why I wanted to lean on other colleagues to or check like an official calendar of such.
Yeah, thanks for raising this. So I looked at it earlier. The first week of April is Passover this year, with the main holidays being the first day. I think it's the last 2 days of the week. So that
No,
would be
it's the first and second day, but the first day starts the night before. That's how these things work.
Yeah.
And I think Liz mentioned the seventh day.
7th day.
Yeah, so
Well,
it's
The
the
why don't
last,
you
first.
the first two and the last two, she said.
Okay, really the first two and the last two, but again, they start the night before.
Right.
Right, I know.
In that case, Parks does not fall on any of those days. Your meeting's on the 14th, so that's 5 days after Passover ends. There are a number of meetings that transpire over that week, but I leave it to the chairs to
Yes.
determine based on their membership whether they want to adjust their meeting dates.
Well, ideally,
Thank you.
the other people we have to keep in mind are the public, because they too would be precluded from attending our meetings if they wanted to. So ideally, if we can keep any meeting, and of course the public attends all of our meetings, any meetings from those days, that would be better.
Yeah,
And I mean,
and
certainly, like, for example, with the licensing committee, you might have a Jewish person who wants a license and they couldn't come to the meeting, for example,
Yeah.
hypothetically.
if we had to follow the rule of the first 2 days and the last 2 days of Passover, we would have to move 7 of our meetings, which I think has a number of knock-on effects, including, well, one, we don't really have space on the calendar to move them to, but two, it would mean that all members of those committees would be exempted from attending because once you move a meeting from its regular date, then everyone is excused.
Well,
So
then maybe as a compromise, because again, and then I don't think, in fact, the licensing committee is one of them. But that one, since, people, proprietors have to actually be there, that would be significant. The other committees, maybe not so much.
Mary, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I have two members of my committee who are obviously observing Jews, and as respect to them and also for the benefit of our committee, I do want to change it. I've sent an email out to the members of my committee to respond as to, I gave them a couple of options, but I have to get back to the board leadership.
That's okay, and we'll discuss it next month as well. And your meeting is
Yeah, but
more
I'm
flexible
right.
anyway, given it's at 10:30 in the morning. But so thank you, Mary. As soon as you find out, let us know.
I will, because I have announcement at the end or whenever.
Got it. Wayne, go ahead.
So, I mean, as you know, land use meets the first Wednesday of the month, but in April, that would be April 1st, April Fools, haha. And if per Liz's email, the 1st, the 2nd, and the 8th are sensitive dates, that's kind of double trouble, because typically when we don't meet on our regularly scheduled day, we bump it to the next Wednesday, but the next Wednesday would be the 8th. So I need to coordinate with the committee to see what makes sense to them.
Okay.
Well, I will not be there on either of the nights of the Seders, the first two Seders. I don't celebrate the ones at the end of the week.
Yeah,
But
well,
the
that's what I
first two
just pointed out,
Seders,
that if
right.
we move it from the first Wednesday to the second Wednesday, we're still on one of the dates that's problematic.
Right. Well, I'm just speaking for myself. And
Yeah.
again,
Mhm.
I love you people and I love my committee, but I would rather be at a Seder. There's really good food, among other things.
Oh, we'll join you then. How about that?
Well, see if I can get you an invitation.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Wayne. Any other chairs that want to raise yes,
Oh,
Cecile, go
sorry.
ahead.
I don't know how to raise my hand, so Isidro, I'll go after you.
Go ahead, Isidro.
Thank you, Lisa. So if licensing is falls under this really complicated times, like Liz indicated, we can move licensing perhaps to the next Wednesday, which will be the 15th. If we do this, I would highly request, Anthony, that the staff will send ample and continuous emails to not only committee members, but also to the merchants, because we had a huge problem where the operators and members did not receive proper notice that we're going to be held virtually. So if we have to move the April date, I can announce that on this coming month, on March, but I will need the response and accountability of the staff members to send proper notice to all the merchants.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, and note taken on the virtual participation. I heard that feedback across, and apologies to everyone on the communications around that over the course of the month. But yes, so should I consider licensing then to be on April 15th at 6:30?
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, we do still have a month before we have to absolutely decide this. So chairs, if you still, and I know Mary and Wayne are talking to their committees, but if others want to talk to yours, please do, and we'll reconvene this subject next month. Thank you all for your flexibility. I think one thing I will stress though is,
One second, I want to
oh,
go.
I'm sorry, Eleazar. Yes,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Shake my hand. On my end, as you know, moving parts to get our meeting going, such as both precincts, 33rd and the 4th. So that the one time that we switched it over, I don't think that they showed up. So I want to be cognizant of the fact that our meeting basically relies on the participation of outside and external institutions. So I like to, as you said, we have a month ahead, but I just want to put that on the table so that we all are aware in case that we do not have the flexibility that most committees have into moving the date.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Indiana.
Thank you. I think if there's space on the second Thursday of the month, that Housing and Human Services will move because we're scheduled for the 2nd of April. So if we can, I think it's better if we move it now and we can start getting the word out. If there's room, if there's physical room in the office.
I mean,
looked and it looks just like Youth and Education is the only other committee having a meeting that day.
That's right. And in that regard, though, we have been trying to stagger the times when there are double meetings. So if you do move to that day, I would ask either youth or housing to switch to 7 p.m. instead of 6:30.
Okay, I'm happy to do 7.
Okay, great. So I'll mark housing as April 9th at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. Any other comments at this point for April? Okay, seeing none, I will take us to the next part of the agenda, which is my updates. I will keep this brief because I'll have a number of updates next week. With letter A, the member hub, I shared earlier today an email to the entire board with a link to our website that now directs members to what we've been calling the member hub, but now contains a bit more in terms of content. So on that webpage, you'll find updates both from me and then our incoming district manager. Those will be where our reports will go each month. We have bulletin postings, so little blurbs of the most relevant things happening from the board office to, what our initiatives are as a board. And then there's a policies and procedures section, which is where we'll contain any relevant policies and procedures, including the member attendance policy that we discussed last month, the chair and vice chair guide, and then the officers' procedures. So I encourage you all to take a look at it if you haven't already, and please do provide me feedback if you think there should be additional subpages on the member hub or if we should expand on any content. Let me know. Appointment of district manager. So it's been quite the battle, but we were able to get OMB to approve the hiring of Kiana Diaz. Their role primarily is in reviewing our budget for the rest of this fiscal year and determining how we would pay Kiana, and they were able to figure that out, which I'm happy to say. The borough president's office moved very swiftly to get Kiana an offer letter, and she will be starting on March 2nd. That is a Monday. On March 2nd, she will be spending the entire day, as I understand it, at the borough president's office downtown, doing a number of trainings. so she won't be in our office on that day. But I imagine, she'll be acclimating herself to the office for the rest of that week. Nonetheless, I encourage you all to reach out to her once she has her official community board email, and set up time with her, let her know what's important to you. I'm happy to sit in on those meetings, but I certainly don't have to. And I know she's eager to get started, so looking forward to having her onboarded. And then the last note, and I'll open it up then to questions, summer interns. So I think I had mentioned last month that we were working with two programs at City College. One of them is called the S.J. Levy Fellowship, and the other one is called the Moynihan Center. We created two internships that will take place over the course of the summer from the beginning of June to the beginning of August. One is called the Outreach Internship, and the other one is called the Policy Internship. And each one will have one intern at least for this summer. Paula and I have interviewed candidates, and we've selected two. These are unpaid interns, they're students. I call it unpaid. By that I mean the board is not paying them, but their fellowships pay them, which is awesome. And both of them are bringing incredible experience. I look forward to introducing this committee, especially to those two individuals, closer to the summer, which is when they'll begin. I think they're beginning the first week of June. Any questions about any of these three items? Great. So now then I
I'm
will.
sorry, I was muted. Do we know at what level the students are?
Yes, one is a junior. That's the one in the S.J. Levy Fellowship. I believe the Moynihan one is a sophomore, but I can confirm that. And one is, you know what I'll do is I'll share with this group because I was authorized to their resumes, so you could take a look and see what their backgrounds are. They bring very interesting experience, even just for being students, so really excited to have them. Any other questions? Okay, seeing no hands, I will turn it to Alexis, our secretary, for her report.
Oh, I wasn't on mute. Hi, everybody. Hope all is well. So, a little note, and I want everybody's feedback on this. I would like for there to be on the sign-in sheets a section that states who is in charge of the minutes for each month. This way, when you go into Airtable or wherever reports are living, I can see who is responsible for the minutes for each month. So this way, when somebody comes back and says, oh, no, I was at that meeting, but it doesn't match, well, the attendance sheet doesn't match the minutes, then I can go to the person responsible and talk to them about what the deal really is. Just want to know how everybody feels about that. Yes, Isidro, where are you? There you are.
I'm here. Thank you, Alexis. So for licensing, we don't decide until we actually meet.
That's what I
we-
mean. Yeah,
So,
it would
okay,
just be signed like that day.
okay, got it.
So like,
Thank
you
you.
know how everybody fills out the attendance sheet? There would be a space that says,
Minutes.
yeah, minutes, and that person would you fill in that person's name.
Excellent.
Because as I was reviewing attendance reports, I noticed there's a lot of minutes missing from some committees for like months, and so it's very hard to cross-check. In this way, if I see the attendance sheet, I can then go to that person who was given that responsibility and say, hey, what's up? And then also, please remind at the top of your meetings, because this was another issue I realized, not everybody's signing in. So at the top of the meetings, please ask all your committee members to sign in. And then the other issue was very quickly, not issue, just a point. If somebody is on Zoom, you have to let me know if they gave an excuse. Not me, you have to write, well, people do Zoom and they excuse, but if it was unexcused or they didn't provide a reason, that has to be noted. I mean, it's already on there to do that, but there was I realized that I had to do some cross-checking on that. So it wasn't always clear.
And then just a point of clarification there, that applies to anyone who's on Zoom but isn't exempt. I know that sort of speaks for itself, but you don't have to write an excuse for exempt people.
Thanks, Anthony.
So
Any
just
questions?
quick question on that last point. When, a committee member emails the office and the committee chair in advance to indicate that they, will be participating via Zoom and the reason why, is that information captured and recorded, or do we still need to put on the attendance sheet, the excuse or the reason?
Well, I noticed like if I'm doing roll call, like for the general meeting, if it was provided and I see it, somebody said, oh, so-and-so called and they're sick. I write Zoom excused sick, kind of a slash. So I think if it could be done on the attendance sheet, that would just make it clearer.
I
And if-
agree that that would be the ideal, definitely. Sorry for interrupting.
Quite all right.
Another reason for that is because the sign-in sheets would be easier to provide to the public if requested, rather than digging through emails, and because the public has a right to know these things around attendance. So I think that it would be easier for completeness to just include the excuse on the sign-in sheets as well.
Because now what I'm doing is I'm keeping a file. So anytime any member emails and says they're going to be either absent or they have to be on Zoom, I do keep each committee has a file and I put those emails in that file. But it still needs to be someplace obvious in terms of public record. So yes, thank you for that, Anthony.
Alexis, when someone emails to say that they can't make it to a meeting, should I forward that information to you? Should I CC you on that? How do you want that handled?
Actually, and Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, that person should email, anybody who does it should email the office, the chair, CC me and CC Anthony, correct?
Okay.
I'm sorry, Indiana, I thought you had your hand up. Oh, okay. Yeah, Regina, I was kind of surprised you had a lot of people last week that were like, just didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I
Thank
will
you, dear.
note that. Thank you.
Okay, so my question is, or maybe it's more of a flag. I would just encourage us to leave some flexibility about what we put in the minutes. If somebody is like, I mean, there may be like very personal reasons why somebody can't come, that it's not just as easy to write down as like sick. So
No, if it's on the attendance sheet, I'm not saying the minutes, but if it's on the attendance sheet, right? But in the minutes, you write Zoom and you can just write excused, right?
Okay.
But on the sign-in sheets, it's correct, right, Anthony? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it's always safe to keep it like general, as long as it fits one of the categories in the bylaws. So if
Okay.
someone does have a personal matter and they provided you with, the names of the people and all the dates and time, like that's all
just say,
unnecessary for the
yeah,
any of
it
these
could just
things.
say sick, it could just say caretaking.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to have any detail, just /sick/caretaking/work,
Okay,
you know,
perfect.
Yeah,
nothing
Great.
personal.
Great, thank you.
And that is it.
great. Alexis, thank you so much for all this work. And I know we're coming close soon to our quarterly, the end of the quarter, where we're gonna be reviewing all this and doing some letters. So stay tuned on that. Thanks again. I will now turn it to agenda item number 5, approval of governance documents. This month we have the cannabis manual. This will be the last of the 4 manuals that relate to applications before a licensing committee. And Isidro, thank you so much for your feedback throughout the process of drafting those. I saw Wayne had sent over some feedback which will be incorporated if we approve tonight. But were there any other friendly amendments to that manual at this juncture? Yes, Isidro, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that also Liz sent some comments,
Okay.
which are really also should be
Oh, I recall. Yeah.
noted. And
I sent
I
something
think
as
that
well.
and Jim Berlin as well. I know it. I think will be a more comprehensive document. And I would like to have this, Anthony, as soon as possible so I can share that, so we can share that with the committee members so they can be educated about the requirements, the process. Even though we're very familiar on how we do licensing, they should know what is expected when we do cannabis licensing.
Agreed. Yes, and if we
Oh,
adopt
and
this tonight, then we
you
will.
received my comments, Anthony?
I'm looking at my email and I don't see an email from you, Jim. So we'll touch base offline. I did see Liz's, but
Oh, it was like a week ago.
I haven't seen. Well,
Okay, I'll send it again if I can find it.
great, thank
Yeah, I
you,
can
Jim.
find it.
Thanks, Jim. Wayne, go ahead.
Yeah, the comment I sent, or rather the question, was whether that, 1,000-foot radius, measurement was still relevant. But the broader question is, if the intent of the manual is to give applicants a sense of what they need to, give us vis-a-vis a complete application, I wonder if it is, wise for us to have in our manual things that pertain to the regulations, because it's the responsibility in this case of, OEM or whomever, to maintain and update those regulations. And if we put the regs in our manual, it's also our responsibility to make sure if they change, we have to change the manual. And the applicants it's their responsibility to go to, if it's for cannabis or if it's for, a liquor license or if it's for BSA, to go to the appropriate agency and to, comply with them. We're simply saying, when you come to us, this is what you need to present to us. We shouldn't be in the position of, restating or paraphrasing what the regs are.
That's a good point. A part of the reason, just to give you my thinking about it, that I included some of them there is because our questionnaires include it. So one of the cannabis questionnaire, for example, says, I believe, something to the effect of, are there any other licensed cannabis operators within 100 feet of the proposed location? But to your point, yeah, I take your point. It's too much work on us volunteers to have to update each time OCM passes new regulations. So I'll take that away and I'll reduce it
Yeah.
just to
Well,
general.
I think if the application were to say, OCM reg, requires, the retail establishment to be, at least or not more than X feet in proximity, whatever, does this comply? I mean, this is what the reg says and do you comply? That can be in the application as opposed to, in the manual, because I think it's easier to, update the application, which I think would be a shorter document than, the manual. And going through the BSA thing, that's also because, there are so many different reasons why one would apply to BSA. It's not just the findings for, rezoning. I mean, for example, the special permits have a completely different set of findings. So we'd have to state each and every, set of findings that would be applicable. And then we were responsible for making sure if something changes, we're changing what we say in the manual.
Yeah, that's a good point, Wayne. Thank you.
Wanna be-
Eleazar, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember many months ago, in which we had a meeting with the state liquor authority. Uh, just in that sense, in how much of our application from our committee. I don't know if Isidro was the chair then, probably so. But how much of our application resembled and was tied and aligned with the SLA's application, and we were like a couple of degrees more stringent than even the SLA's application for whatever reasons that with time, community board members have or think that are local needs and local questions that should be included in our application. So I think this is a good opportunity to kind of like revisit that. Like I said, I'm hearing you all talking about how much is that work that is being added with time is now weights on the staff, reasonably so, in some cases, but in some other cases, we have questions in our questionnaire that even the SLA don't ask or don't require to be answered. So these are like add-ons and more layers to an already crazy bureaucracy, to say the least. So I think it's worth the while to also take a second look. And I know that Isidro was nodding his head, probably agreed with me, as to that the work that it is now wasn't the work we had a couple of years back. It was just questions that we intentionally, I might say, were added on to the application. Thank you, Anthony, for allowing me to chime in.
Perfect. On that note, I will also flag once this manual is adopted, and I'll take both of Wayne's pieces of feedback, one discussed tonight, the one over email, Liz's, and then Jim's. The web page that this lives on also needs to be updated, obviously, because it still makes reference to the task force, which no longer exists. But it's also that web page's purpose is to summarize the more administrative quick steps that each applicant should take. On that note, if there are no other comments on the manual, if I can get a motion to adopt it.
Motion.
Second.
I would say adopted subject to revision.
Apologies. Thanks, Wayne. Subject to revision. I'll take Isidro and Indiana as moving and seconding with those notes in mind. Yes, perfect. Any objection? Okay, seeing none, I think we can move on to Roman numeral 6, which is old business. So last month, on this letter A, defining late. So we had a pretty robust conversation last month about what late should mean with regard to our attendance policy. And I had shared at that time, I think it's important when we discuss what is late when a member is attending our meetings, that it's still rooted in our bylaws, which, is our governing document. Everything we do has to abide by that. And in our bylaws, the phrasing is that each member is expected to attend a substantial portion of the meeting. And so I think there were a number of ideas that came out of last month. There were temporal thresholds, meaning after I recall 30 minutes, you're marked late. We were going back and forth about whether that means 30 minutes from the time the meeting is actually called to order versus when it's supposed to begin per the schedule. I think at this juncture, I just want to revive that conversation and see if other folks have had an opportunity to really mull this over and provide any additional thoughts, so we can update the attendance policy accordingly. So if you do, please raise your hand and we can talk through it. Okay, Alexis, I see your physical hand. Go for it.
So in my opinion, I think it should, the late starts at the time the meeting is supposed to start. But not when it's called to order, because we're all supposed to be there at, 10, 15 minutes, especially if you're coming from work. It's not, that's of course very understandable, but I think anything over 30 to 45 minutes is late. I mean, I would start late as 30 minutes. That's just me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that I'm sorry, Cedro. I beat you. I got there first now. I think that a lot of us, I know that I do, and it's been my experience that we always give grace. Like if enough committee members aren't there at the time that we're supposed to start, usually we don't start at that time because we try to give people a few minutes, right, Mary? We try to give people a few minutes to get their chair. So just something to take into consideration. I know that we all already always give grace, by what time we start our meetings, because I'm a very anal person. So it takes a lot of grace for me to sit around 10, 15 minutes. Like a lot of times a meeting don't get started until 6:45 or 15 minutes after the meeting is starting because we have to give grace because we're all volunteers and people are coming and going and traffic and the subway and all of that. So just something to take into consideration as well.
Any other thoughts on this topic?
Well, yeah, that's why I said like 10 to 15 minutes. I think that's all kind of what we do because we know that, right? But still, if somebody's coming in, if you're supposed to be there at 6:30 and you come in at like 7:15 when everybody else has been there for half an hour already, I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with 30 minutes generally. I mean, I think of it this way, right? If you're 30 minutes late to this meeting, you would have missed almost half the agenda, right? So, how could that possibly not be you missing a substantial portion of the meeting?
Well, I guess it depends on the meeting, the subjects, and the length of the
Sure.
discussion.
Yeah.
But I guess my question is, if we're signing in on the attendance sheets, what time we get there. So whether you're arriving 5 minutes early or 15 minutes later, or 30 minutes late, it's showing how late you are. So what is it we're trying to establish vis-a-vis defining late?
Yeah, I mean, I think it again ties back to the substantial portion piece because in our bylaws, if you miss a substantial portion of a meeting, you're considered absent for that meeting. That's how it's already written. But again, no definition of what substantial portion of a meeting means. So I think we still need to tie those two concepts together, whether that's
If I could comment on that, although
Sure.
I like the idea, we are volunteers and giving people grace. If you're not there when the meeting is supposed to start, you're actually forcing everyone else to wait. And I don't think that's fair. So from my point of view, and obviously we are never required to have unanimity on anything. I feel the time that the lateness we begin timing the lateness is from when the meeting should have started. That's just my view.
Thanks, Jim. I learned at the last borough board meeting that Community Board 1 will clap the person who makes the meeting come into quorum when they walk in at their general meetings each month. So, if the 26th person, let's just say, when they walk in, the full board will clap as sort of a signal that we got quorum. I don't think we should start doing that, but I found that to be funny.
We could
Indiana
whistle.
or whistle. Yes, go ahead, Indiana.
I just want to clarify something. Do we need to tie late and substantial portion together for purposes of counting like attendance, right? Because like you said, there are meetings that run 45 minutes and there are meetings that run 2.5 or 3 hours. Like, do we need those two things to be tied together?
Yeah, I
Because you
mean,
can, sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. I apologize.
No, I just, if the idea is like, will their vote count versus like, are they upholding, their commitment to be part of the community board? Like, I don't know. I'm not so sure that we should tie those two things together.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, it's a matter of if those things aren't somehow tied together. I don't personally see the benefit in even tracking when someone's late if there are no, I guess, effects to that.
Consequence.
Um,
Okay.
I mean, we theoretically could have in our minutes who attended a substantial portion of the meeting. But I again, like, how do we define what that is? I think for the general, there was a sort of, when I was secretary, Kathy and I had an understanding that if someone missed both the public hearing and the voting portion of the meeting, those are the two biggest things that happen at the general meeting,
Mm,
then you did not attend a substantial portion of the meeting.
okay.
But obviously those two concepts don't really apply to the other committees or any of the committees. So yeah, Wayne, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, those two pertain to the general meeting, but not to committees, but to Indiana's point, I mean, on average, land use, we meet for an hour and a half, sometimes it's two. So if you are half an hour late, I mean, you're still there for 2/3 of the meeting, so you've attended that. So you're late, but you're not so late as to say that you are absent. Um, if you arrive 10 minutes before we adjourn, then, which has happened in some instances, then, clearly, and you sign in that you got there at, 8:10. I mean, clearly for all intents and purposes, we're absent, and we have been gracious and we've recapped everything we just discussed for the last, hour and 15 minutes. But, the, definition of late and, tying it to absence still can be a little tricky depending upon, how long that meeting is.
At the risk of turning chairs into a kind of villain role, is there a world where we give discretion to the chairs to decide at each meeting whether their members attended a substantial portion of that meeting?
I'm not a big fan of discretion in general.
No. I'm really trying. Yeah, go ahead, Alexis.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's also about respect of everybody. This is more about people that are like, to be honest, look, it could happen. Every one of us could, for one day or another, for whatever reason, be late 30 to 45 minutes. But this is a way to also hold people who are chronically late accountable. Because there are people on committees that do not show up until 45 minutes, 30 minutes after the start time on a regular basis. So we're not talking about like, okay, so one day, I'm 30 minutes late when I'm always on time. Okay. But to define it is to hold people that are chronically late accountable. Because then it's not fair to the rest of us who are always there on time. Does that make sense?
I think it does. Is there a world where we assign a proportion of a meeting to the word late and then anything beyond late is not a substantial portion? And what would that be? Is that a third? If you missed a third of the meeting, then is that 2/3? Half? I know this is tough, but we also don't want to be too like lenient because then we're giving people the ability essentially to show up an hour late and not be, not face any repercussions. Leo, go ahead.
Hey everyone, and I'm sorry I have my camera off. I'm taking a course right now, so I'm kind of going back and forth. But on this topic, I think that we should consider having a grace period. I know the previous exec meeting I said if they're a minute late, they're late, but maybe enforcing a grace period of 15 minutes and then after that you're late. Because it's true, if the meeting is only an hour long and you show up, 50% or 60% of the portion, then how can we kind of hold that balance throughout the board and other committees? I don't think it's fair if Wayne's land use committee is an hour and a half and my traffic and transportation is 2 hours and a half. If somebody comes 45 minutes late to mine, 30 minutes late to Wayne, and because of that percentage, you're technically not accounting for the attendance at Wayne's committee, but you would count for attendance at my committee. And I think that's a huge issue when it comes to the type of bias. So maybe stating, hey, the grace period is 15, 20 minutes. If you're there beyond that, then you're late. It is what it is. If it becomes a habit, then we have to follow our bylaws.
Eleazar.
I'm gonna confer with Tanisha on the 30 minutes. I would try to establish now their normal rhythm of having in-person meetings. Some of us have to travel at least an hour from our places of work. transportation system. I don't want to open up a can of worms here. I think that we all know how they could be, and I think it should be, at least a good 30 minutes, just because, look at what happened during the snow. Just there are a lot of external factors out of our domain of control that 30 minutes I think is a fair number going in. It's just my opinion.
Thank you. Wayne, and then Isidro hasn't spoken on this topic, so I'll give it to Isidro and then Wayne.
Thank you, Anthony. So I recommend that for committee meetings, since critical issues will probably be voted right away, such as licensing, we don't wait for anyone to come in. The minute that we start the meeting, we will start voting. So I would recommend that perhaps for committee meetings, a grace period of 15 minutes should be enough. And then for the general board meetings and the executive meetings, 30 minutes.
Okay. Wayne?
Yeah, I wasn't going to comment on the period of time. I was going to say, based on something that Alexis said, perhaps what we need to do is to define late, but then define the consequences of chronic lateness.
Okay. Thank you. I see Luana's physical hand and then Heidi.
Hi, I have an older version of Zoom. I don't have that capability. That's why I put it on the chat. My only concern with grace periods, however long they are, is that then it creates sort of like a window of abuse. And we all know that there are people that just, they want to abuse the system. So if you grant a half-hour grace period every single time, then that opens the window for people to actually come in every time 30 minutes late. And that's not fair to those of us that are punctual for the most part. So maybe another way of looking at this is looking at frequency, where there is a grace period, but it's not to be abused. And we will be looking at the patterns. Meaning that a grace period is not an excuse to arrive half-hour late every single time, especially when there are others that can make it there on time. Does that make sense?
It does.
So maybe we have to look at frequency.
Heidi?
I think that, so there's a few things, like, so people are sort of volleying between, I think, a percentage of a meeting versus a set time period. But I think it seems like there's more of a consensus around like a particular time block, so 30 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever that is. But to the point about the duration of meetings, depending on their content, I think we may want to consider a system where lateness is defined by how long the meeting is, which is kind of like a percent, but a little bit more bright line. So if the meeting is between 0 and 60 minutes, lateness is defined as, say, 20 minutes. If it's a meeting between 1 hour and 2 hours, lateness is defined by whatever. And if the meeting exceeds 2 hours or 3 hours, then it's defined by maybe a smaller percent. I think that adds some consistency without it necessarily being so exact as a percent. Because I think from a legal perspective, like the idea of substantial portion is defined not just in relation to the duration, but also its proportion to the whole, and also about the importance of what's happening. So I don't think that we can incorporate importance in a calculus, but I think that might be a solution.
I like it.
Right. Yeah, but this is really about, like, it's really not about, like we said, people that are just coming in, like we all said, 10, 15 minutes late. This is to hold people accountable that are chronically coming in late every single meeting. And that's not fair to people that are.
Yeah.
No matter the length of the committee meetings, if the majority of people are there at, let's say, 6:30 and somebody's constantly coming in at 7:15, no matter how long the because sometimes we can't predict how long a meeting will go. So it's not about anything else but holding people accountable. For everybody, to the fairness of all involved.
Okay. I'm gonna take two more comments and then I think I'm gonna close with perhaps we do a poll of some sort and see if we can move forward from there. Indiana, go ahead.
Thank you. I agree with Heidi. But if we do decide to do it based on like a set number of minutes after the meeting starts, then I think we should eliminate the substantial portion, like language and factor completely, right? Because then it really doesn't matter. It's like, were you here within X amount of time from when the meeting started? That's my recommendation. And then the other thing is we just need to then be very clear that is it from when the meeting started or from when the meeting was called to order? I imagine it's from when the meeting starts, right? But then that still may not be when there's quorum.
Yeah. Yeah. Mary, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think, picking a number, 30 minutes is good. But again, I agree, it's not to, constantly say, you were 30 minutes late, what happened, kind of thing, and look at them. But it's the chronicity of people being late all the time, whether it's 30 minutes, whether it's 20 minutes, whether it's 45 minutes. That they're just always late, and that's the issue.
Yeah. Jim, and then I'll close the discussion.
Just two comments. You also, even though they don't get to vote, you don't want people to leave early either. That's what the substantial thing is about. And the other piece of it is, although obviously we want to be as fair as possible, we also want to have a method of figuring this out that isn't unnecessarily complicated. So, I heard one suggestion which sounded really good, except I think Alexis will tear her hair out or whomever. So that's just, again, my suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. Recognizing we can't really do business outside of a meeting, I think what I would do, and what I would like to put together a poll, and I would circulate it with this group, but we wouldn't discuss any aspect of the poll until we come back together in this meeting. And I think we just have to hopefully, come to some consensus based on the results of that poll.
What do you think about polling the board members as well?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, actually. And in that sense, one thing I heard Indiana note about substantial portion, I mean, one thing I would have liked to have done, there's a number of portions of our bylaws that when they were passed, they were just minor, there were sentences that are incomplete, there's some typos. I wanted to do some cleanup edits, but maybe when we open the bylaws back up for those cleanup edits, it would be worth addressing this aspect. And it could be this body that helps accomplish that. All right. I will close this discussion there and move on to the next, which, oh no, I lost my screen. I know we're still on old business, I believe. Sorry, everyone. The next agenda item is, yes, so comments letter. This one's a quick one. So I mentioned this last month. The city, through DCP, puts out what it calls a citywide statement of needs for each fiscal year, and it's largely based on what the agency's needs are overall. They typically do this in February, March, but it appears just in recent history that when a new mayor comes in, they try to get one out in December, so that was the case in this turn. So there's no mayor's name attached to it. This year, the needs are really focused on real estate, and I think I shared last month that's because a prime building on Gold Street in the financial district, where many of our city's agencies are housed, is being converted into affordable housing. And so HPD and a number of agencies, it's not just HPD, need to find new housing. Last month I said I think part of the context of our comment letter, because the statement does invite all community boards to comment on it, would be to welcome city agencies to look for office space in our district. Now, obviously, we're a primarily residential district, and we certainly do not have office buildings nearly as large as what you'll find in Lower Manhattan or Midtown. But I personally believe, and I hope others do, that our agency should not be centralized entirely in one office to serve 5 boroughs. I think that they should have satellite offices, the same way our state operates, where the state agencies sure have a hub in the city and sometimes, or most cases, have a hub in Albany, but then have a number of satellite offices throughout the state. The other comment I recall from last month actually came from Steve, and I thought it was a good one, which is perhaps this comment letter should also say to the agencies, and maybe you need to tell us more than just real estate. What else do you need? Can you describe a little bit more to the city what it is that you need as an agency and what you're looking for? In that regard, I just wanted to reopen that discussion and see if there was any other input. I think what I would like to do over the course of the next month, I'm creating an outline as to how I think this should be responded. And as I'm going through that outline, I will likely have questions for certain committees, and I would like to approach each of the chairs and vice chairs if amenable to that idea. But are there any comments at this juncture about this comment letter? Okay, great.
Just that I agree with you.
Oh, thank you, Tanisha.
Yeah. Um, they all shouldn't be centered downtown anyway, you know? So yeah. And I would love an HPD office in our neighborhood that I could go bother.
Exactly. I
That would,
couldn't,
right, Indiana? That would be great fun.
for sure.
So yeah.
Thanks, Tanisha. Indiana?
Thank you. The only thing I wanted to suggest is that in our letter, we request that the city agencies meet with us about either our individual proposals that we rank or the citywide recommendations. Let's just see, but I feel like we can get with the idea that we can get more specifics in a discussion. Than we can through the very generic responses or information that they put into their reports.
Yeah, I like that. Any other comments? Okay, great. So that takes us now to new business. Under this topic, I included, I recall explaining last month that Section 103A of the Open Meetings Law, which is the provisions that allow for us to have virtual participation, is up for expiration on July 1st of this year. It turns out last year, in the last legislative cycle, there were a number of legislators in Albany that put forth a bill to extend it. But like many bills, the bill didn't make it out of the committee in either the Senate or the Assembly, and so it had to be reintroduced in this cycle. So in the Google Drive, I shared the most recent version of the Senate bill and the Assembly bill, which for the most part are very similar. I couldn't find any material differences between the two. But I think just in the same lines of where we'd be going with the concept of what is late and what's a substantial portion, I think what we need to do with these bills, what I would like to do, is if we're going to support their passage, we should comment on what's missing from them or what shouldn't be in them anymore. The way these bills read, there's no 2-year term. It would just be a permanent part of the open meetings law, which means that it would just exist in perpetuity until overturned or repealed. And so if this bill passes and the governor signs it, then we can continue meeting in this hybrid fashion. But obviously there are hiccups with the way we operate today. I mean, we discuss it all the time. Alexis has to deal with it day in, day out. So I think it gives us the opportunity to say, look, as a public body defined under the law, we've experienced these hiccups and the law should address these hiccups. To that end, has anyone had an opportunity to take a look at the bills and have any high-level comments that they want to share at this point? Okay.
I just think that it's necessary. Um,
Yeah.
we have a whole, way for other people to engage that might not, be able to make it to the office, make it to the general meetings, but can engage online. I think it's equitable. It's more equitable, okay? Because some days I'm just not fit to come in. Y'all don't want me to come in on some days. I'm telling y'all, okay? For real. I'm serious. And I think it's more engaging in the world that we really live in, right? I'm having the same off topic but on topic. The panel for education policy. If you're a parent or a student, you can only testify in person. So that leaves so many parents and students out. It's on a school night, Anthony. The parents have to go to work, but you can only testify in person now, and it's just something that I'm working with the new chair of education on. But yeah, so it limits their participation. So if we want to put that in there, that is equitable and it has opened the door for people who might not be fit, to be in person, to still participate. This is a resource that we have at our disposal. It makes no, can I say that it makes no sense that the members ain't did this, ain't codified this in law? Okay, I'll land my plane.
Thank you, Tanisha. And Jim, go ahead.
I basically totally agree with Tanisha for two reasons. Number one, all the various reasons she gave, it I think has increased our participation. It has made the meetings very different. But I think the more important thing is participation, and that would include not only of the public, but it makes it easier for some members to attend. And the other piece of it is if we go back to the old way, and then there's another pandemic, they all of a sudden have to pass a new law again. And this way, if we leave it as it is, the provisions are already there and they'll automatically activate. So I think that's another reason that we should keep the open meetings law the way it is, or, with additions that others. And now the other thing is, I don't know how quickly we need to comment, but maybe we could, if we don't have to comment this month, all of us could, ponder about the various glitches or things in the open meetings law that could be improved. I mean, offhand, I don't know of any at the moment. So thank you.
No, thank you. In terms of timing on commenting, so I'm a little surprised that this bill is still sitting in committee this turn, because a number of bills have at least gone to a floor vote at this point. I think for those of you who don't know, many of you probably do, but the state legislature only operates from like January to the end of June. And a lot of that time is consumed by budget discussions, which is, I believe, commencing imminently. And so they try to get a lot of the legislating aspect, bill writing and passage done in the first 3 months of the year. That said, since it's still in committee, I think that we do have the time to discuss this a little bit more, and we should. What I would like to do is perhaps for the next executive committee meeting, I'll draft a resolution and put a lot in there to give everyone something to chew on. And then you all can come back at me and say, no, this should not be in there. Or we don't agree with this, or maybe it should have said this instead. This way we can, come up with a position that the board can take. Any objections to that?
No, I don't have no objections, but I think that we should also get on our elected officials to support us, our state officials to support us and start making some noise in legislator about this bill and why it's so important to our communities. Like they need to partner with us on this.
Agreed. And by the way, I don't know if it says this in the PDF I shared, but Senator Robert Jackson is a co-sponsor of the Senate bill. I don't believe, I'd have to double check, I don't think the two assembly members in this district are sponsoring the assembly version, but I could quickly look that up.
If you could send that to me, Chair, I'll
Sure.
get right on it. Make sure that he co-sponsors ASAP.
And first up, we will have.
Okay. And I think what then happens, by the way, is when the budget sort of starts to wrap, there's still about a month usually where they continue legislating. And so if this doesn't make it out of the committee in the next month, they'll probably, hopefully try to push it towards the end of their session. Yeah, the assembly version is still in committee. And yeah, none of our assembly members are co-sponsors on it. And I think just one more thing to close on. The borough board did discuss the possibility of passing a resolution about this at the borough level. But I'll tell you, every community board, at least in Manhattan, is doing virtual participation very differently. And I don't know if they'll come to a consensus to discuss exactly what they do or don't want in this bill. So that's why I would like for our board to take a position on it. Okay, any other new business before we move on to announcements? All right, so with that, I will turn to announcements. And I think last month we may have gone in alphabetical order. So let's go in reverse alphabetical order, and I'll turn it to Tanisha if Tanisha is ready to give a report from Youth and Education.
Hey y'all, so we had a great meeting like we always do. And we had an amazing urban farm that really what's their name? Communicos? I don't know how to say it in Spanish. But basically connecting, and it's this wonderful lady, Miss Rosa, who does urban farming with youth. And they came and they gave us a presentation. They've actually secured like 2 acres on the George Washington campus. But here's the thing. SCA has not came and done what they're supposed to do. The last 2 days, SCA is the School Construction Association. There's some work that they're supposed to do on the land before this amazing organization can actually start seeing what they want to do and what they want to plant and how they want to do it. And as with SCA, you know, the dates come and go. So I also thought that maybe, I don't see Simon here, but I thought that maybe they should go and present at Health and Environment, because, you know, it's a small part of, you know, the Youth and Education committee to support the youth having this opportunity to do this program. But it's another thing where this urban gardening, urban farming would be good for the whole community's health and environment, right? So we told Miss Rosa to reach out to Health and Environment and another committee too, Wayne's committee. Wayne, what's your landscape? To see if we want to do a joint resolution to support this project. But in the meantime, we voted to write a resolution to press SCA to not only give them a new date, but to also make sure that the work is finished by that date, so that they can start doing this wonderful project at George Washington High School campus. Any questions? Hopefully, we will have a resolution for the general board meeting. I'm working with Anthony and my community members on that, but it seems like my committee members. But, you know, this is the long week. Some people are off, some people are away, but it's definitely going to be coming. And then this month coming up, we're going to have our chief coalition. That's Coalition for Educational Equitable Funding. And they're going to give a presentation, which, as Anthony said, it is budget season. So they're going to give a presentation on our foundation aid formula and the upgrades that we need, like regional cost index. Okay? Because the foundation aid formula does not reflect the updated regional cost index, because of course it was written in 2007 and has had no updates since. So, you know, that's basically what we're working on in youth and education. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanisha. So I'll write you down for one resolution recognizing that we're waiting on the drafters there. All right, I'll turn it to Leo or Noemi on traffic.
Sorry, guys. All right. I am going to read a text message right now. Please pardon me as I read. So in regards to DOT divided up, we did a walkthrough, and we suggested a traffic study for the Fort Washington 179, also the Fort Washington 165th, and the 5-point intersection at 158th Street. This conversation included adding traffic signals and a potential roundabout on 158th Street to slow down the traffic that's coming in from all sides into the Henry Hudson there. And we have a presentation from DDC and DOT next month in regards to reconstruction and upgrades at the 10th Avenue and Dyckman. And we are going to have more information coming up this week. So we're going to be doing a walkthrough with our councilwoman to see. I'm so sorry. I'm reading as he is typing. So sorry about that. Okay, so there's an ongoing discussion with the committee to see if we'll support the alternative side parking that is going to be proposed for twice a week. There are some opposing feedback on that. Our committee and within our committee, some of the public attendings as well, they are opposing. But we want to have this information for our community, everyone as a whole, to have awareness of this and be present when we're making these decisions. So we also want to collect locations for speed cameras so we can provide that to the DOT in the upcoming months. So if there's any recommendations for any speed cameras, that is something that we would like, you know, the whole board to chime in with where we can have these speed cameras.
And I'll chime in. Thank you, Noemi. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm bouncing back and forth. We also joined Wayne's Land Use Committee, where they entertained Zeta Charter School's BSA application. Wayne will obviously elaborate on it, but we advised and we recommended Zeta and their brass of individuals to have a walkthrough, a site visit with us, that location where they're trying to or develop a school. It's at a busy thoroughfare. It's on 181st and Broadway. I'm not sure if most of you guys know, but we've had issues with Zeta for the last few years because of the traffic conditions, traffic and safety conditions on 218th Street and 9th Avenue, where they have their junior high school and elementary school. So we, as a traffic transportation committee, we've spoken with DOT, MTA, and NYPD in the past. Zeta has not been a great neighbor. They have not established parameters for the dismissal arrival. Sometimes you go to that area and it's cars triple or quadruple parked. School buses are not able to pick up the kids in front of the school. The kids have to actually walk a block over because of the traffic conditions. So, you know, we encourage them to come to the site because before we support anything, and again, Wayne will elaborate, our comments will be geared toward the traffic and transportation portion of the applications. I've spoken with the chair, Anthony, and you know, we're worried that they're still gonna kind of move forward with it because it's questioning of the zoning. One of that lot, part of it has a different zoning. I don't think they qualify for it, so that's why they came to the board. But we want to provide our comments. So they have committed to come to our committee meeting next month just to have discussions regarding traffic or any concerns that we have. So stay tuned. That I think is a big topic for us.
Go ahead, Jim. You have a comment?
Well, yeah, well, I'm also a member of the committee, and I want to reinforce what my colleagues are saying. As Leo just pointed out, and maybe Noemi mentioned it too, every now and then, or more now than then, you know, ridiculously often, there's just traffic chaos at 218th Street near this school. Now they want to build their new school at the intersection of Broadway and 181st Street. We cannot afford to have traffic chaos there because those are two major streets, especially Broadway. So that puts weight to the issue, you know, and then obviously their less than sterling behavior at the school they already have makes us suspicious of how poorly they might, you know, handle things at 181st Street. So, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. And I know, so Wayne is no longer here. But I understand that there's a number of positions that this is coming at. What Leo is describing with respect to the zoning aspect of it, though, is that they technically could build a school on the lot as of right, but not with their current proposal that includes an additional annex that would house a portion of their gym, or like they're calling it state-of-the-art gym slash theater stuff. So my concern is, and it sounds like we are putting together a joint resolution, just perhaps not for this month, but my concern is even if we do object, what is the likelihood that the developer at Zeta continues on the proposal as of right? So stay tuned on that one.
Well,
Hopefully.
there's a whole corner of the site that's missing, so I think they'd have to redesign the building.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so,
Yeah, they would have to redesign it, but they could technically do something. And I imagine Wayne will provide a little bit more context at the general meeting. I just wanted to touch quickly on the two times a week alternate side parking issue. I think there's two pieces of that. One is whether to increase back from 1 to 2, and I know we have a lot of community input on that. That would likely require health and environment to opine, since it was initially their resolution that brought it down to 1. The other side of it, though, from my understanding, at least having conversations with Superintendent Maury, who at the Department of Sanitation, is some of it just comes down to enforcement for the 1 time a week. And so I've met now with the 34th, I'm meeting with the 33rd next week. And I've let them know, you know, just coming out of district service cabinet meetings, that they really should work closely with DSNY to try and ensure that there are daytime patrol officers that can help with making sure people are moving out of the way, so street cleaners can come and clean on the 1 time a week we're asking people to move out of the way. Otherwise, you know, we just have the dirty streets. So
sanitation has its own enforcement force as well. It's
They-
probably rather tiny.
that's the point. It's very tiny. It's shrunken over the years, and at least the superintendent explained that it's very hard for them to keep up with. So they like more partnership with NYPD. Traffic, are there any resolutions this month?
No, we don't have any. And to add to your point, sorry, Anthony, to add to your point, the superintendent has committed that if we have any locations that have issues with cars moving, to please forward it to him, that he'll ensure that he'll send enforcement that way, just to kind of keep an eye on it. So if anybody has anywhere in the area, in our community, where it's becoming an issue, where cars aren't moving, they're idling, or they just complete warehousing, let us know so we can forward it to them, and then they'll put an eye at the location.
Great, thanks, Leo.
No resolutions.
Perfect. Turning now to public safety. Eleazar, do you have any announcements or a report?
Yeah, pretty much standard. Both precincts listed are both pretty much went along the lines of, you know, how crime is now down throughout the city. Obviously, carjacking, not carjacking, but car robbery and other quality of life crimes have surged. Tanisha made very good points on, you know, prevention and making sure that they have more foot patrol. We were also notified that the 33rd precinct has now about, I think they mentioned 14 or 16 new police officers on staff, and they now have an active foot patrol. That's a good set of news. So They're not even halfway through what the capacity should be, but they're working towards having the 250 police officers that they should have for the good geographic area that they cover. So that's pretty much what were the kind of the discussions that we had on the last meeting.
Go ahead, Alexis.
I'm sorry, Eliezer, was that the 33rd or the 34th that added the police officers?
33rd.
Thank you.
The 34th did ask me to share that they're hosting a coffee with a cop event tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Target on 181st Street. So if anyone is interested in having some coffee with a cop,
Yeah, it's in the Target, Anthony. Forgot to mention that.
yeah,
It's in the lobby of the Target in 181st Street. The entrance lobby, right?
that's right.
Okay, sorry.
I'll be there.
Awesome. Yeah, and please spread the word. I know it's tomorrow morning, but
Cedro,
full event.
it's coffee with the police department. That means you have to bring your own coffee, all right? They're not going to give you free coffee, so you know.
They're gonna give you Sanka. What time is it?
I'm out.
It's at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Thank you.
Coffee with a cop. Hilarious.
All right, I will now turn it to Luana from Parks to give her update.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. We just had updates, capital updates. As everybody knows, Parks tends to be very inactive during the winter, so it's mostly about programming updates and capital improvements. But the one main concern that the community is bringing forward is the closing of the marina. Well, there are two major happenings. We had a presentation of an artist that is coming to Inwood Hill, which was very lovely. But also the main concern is making sure that the time frame that was set forth by Parks with regards to the closure of the marina, that deadline is, how do I say, Alexis, held to, because we know that the Hudson Sailing Club unfortunately had to close down due to the closing of La Marina. So that was the main concern as to whether or not the marina will be closed and for how long, and if it's tied to the initial proposed deadline. Those are the two salient points: art exhibit and the close watch on the marina. Alexis?
Right, so I just want to make sure that the public art installation, there's nothing, they just presented it to us. Nothing is gonna happen. Nothing can happen until they go through the public art department in Parks.
Okay. Thank you for that, Alexis.
Yeah. And one thing we did call them out. We did ask Parks during their capital improvement, because they did promise to give a monthly update from the marina, and they did not this month. So hopefully next month they'll come back and provide an actual update.
Thank you, Alexis. The apprehension is that there is sort of like anxiety that the marina might become something similar to that of the boat basin in the Upper West Side, where I don't know if it's open, I don't know if it's closed, but there has been comparisons as to closing down these public spaces under a proposal, but then that proposal never comes to fruition. What's happening right now is that the project is in procurement and they're in the final stages of approvals to get it all started.
Great, thank you. One flag for you. I know that since you've been chair, you've been big about holding our elected officials accountable for the 1% pledge that they make in the budget. I know that that was a pledge that the current mayor also made. I think it would be worth in maybe your next meeting to revive that and do another resolution, restating our position, particularly at this new administration, if that's something that you're willing to do.
Absolutely. Would it be another resolution or just a letter of support? Because I need clarity on that, Anthony. At times, I've been told that redrafting the same resolution over and over again becomes redundant. Versus a letter of support. To me, a resolution sends a stronger message, especially because it is a new administration. I'm more than willing to just redo the same resolution, maybe tweak it a bit to hold the current administration accountable. That was part of their debate, which I saw, that all of them said that they will commit 1% to parks. And we have yet to see any leader, mayor deliver on that promise.
Yeah. For those reasons, particularly that it's a new mayoral administration, I think it should be a resolution.
Okay, we will put it on our agenda and we will, once again, and maybe I can use some guidance as to how to make it more aggressive. Maybe we need to start citing previous resolutions, that this is not the first resolution ever drafted on the matter. And maybe that's good practice for us as a board, that if we keep harping on the same issue and keep rewriting the resolution, it needs to be clear in one of the whereases that this is not a brand new resolution, that we have been bringing this to the attention of leadership, for example.
I couldn't agree more.
Can I just say something,
And then we're still
Anthony?
waiting. I'm
Oh.
sorry, Tanisha, go ahead. Go ahead.
So when we write resolutions, right, and they go to the agencies, right, they're supposed to answer us in 30 days, right?
So there's
Do
no,
they?
yeah, I mean, the way they do it, they're supposed to do it is through the district service cabinet meeting, but there's no like, at least not that I know of, a requirement that they actually respond in writing. Jim, unless you have, I saw you wave your hand. But that's part of the reason I was big about changing the date of the district service cabinet meeting so I can be there, because I have been pushing when we have new resolutions. I bring it up at every district service cabinet meeting and I want a response. So we will continue to do that.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank
The
you.
last thing, Anthony, if I may, is I'm still waiting to see. Of course, I was absent when the resolution passed. And again, thank you everybody for all your support and your generosity. I did send out an email, but I want to say it once again in case you didn't read the email. We want to see what the next steps are with in pertaining to Dolphin Park. The resolution, I was so happy that it was tweaked. It was aggressive. I like that. So now it's just a matter of next steps to getting the park open. Whatever that may be, whether it's a park or a public, whatever public space we are envisioning with that particular corner. I would like to see it a park because our children need it, but we shall see. It is ultimately up to the Port Authority to decide what's going to be done.
And thank you for flagging that. There was a representative of the Port Authority at the district service cabinet meeting, and I raised it with him and made sure he verbally said out loud he received the letter containing a resolution, which is good, and recommitted to opening it this spring. So we will hold them accountable every month, making sure, and especially through the spring if we're not seeing results. Thank you, Luana. All right, I will
Thank you.
turn. Thanks. I'll turn now to Isidro for licensing.
Thank you, Anthony. So we had 11 applications. We objected to some because either the applicant submitted an incomplete application and or they did not show up to the meetings. And when they don't come up to answer questions from the committee and or police, we tend to object to those applications. We had one particular applicant where they were adamant about requesting that they had to have a 4 o'clock closing on a nightly basis for an area that has been completely oversaturated with licenses. PD also was against it. They say that they cannot control close to 300 people coming out at 4 o'clock in the morning on a daily basis. We tried to negotiate with the applicant. He was just saying, no, I have to have 4 o'clock in the morning. So that didn't work out. And the committee request, they also did not list that they're going to have any security guards there. So that's going to come over for the board to vote on the matter. We objected to it. There was also one applicant that came for renewal. They never solicited an opinion from the community board, but they did get a license. There were some members that were concerned about the lack of call, or meaning like that they actually failed to submit a request to the board, to the license committee, and to the community board. And that's a new place that's going to open up on 207. They have closing times until 3 o'clock in the morning, which would have been something that at least I would think the license committee will post. But because they did not get a community board recommendation, there were some objections to it. But ultimately, the committee voted to approve the renewal. Something that should be brought to your attention, Anthony, the office has to find a way to better inform the committee members and also the operators in getting those specific links to the meetings. I myself did not receive the links until you sent it on the same day. Other committee members did not receive the link for the meeting at all. And some operators actually did not receive the notice that this was going to be a virtual meeting at all. So they did not receive a notice about this meeting being held virtually. And, I highly recommend that the office staff get on board and do what is requested by the board in making sure that we can execute our meetings. And obviously, we missed on the cannabis resolution. We couldn't vote on the matter because we did not receive the background information. But I guess these are like things that we can work out because they are new coming to licensing. And I asked for their forgiveness because it was actually our error. And they're actually really not unhappy that they're going to come next month. But I apologize on behalf of the board because it was actually our mistake. And I think also it will be better for them to come back because the committee members will be very informed as to the specific questions to be asked for cannabis. So anyway, I think it worked out for the licensing committee, but I would see on how the staff members can work in getting the information to committee on time as they have been for a while. So I highly hope that when we get the new district manager in place, that the office will be more cohesive, more responsive, and more reliable.
Yeah.
That's it on my end, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Isidro. In terms of that was a transitional error that has been corrected, and apologies that the office didn't provide the materials in advance for that applicant, but we'll make sure that that's dealt with. And to your point, the applicant was very receptive to coming back to licensing in March with no harm to the application, which is good. I also applauded the 33rd and 34th for attending your meeting this month and requested that they continue doing so. I know there was a bit of a logistical error in who's receiving the application materials, so we've corrected that, at least for the 34th, because they provided us a list. I don't have a list for the 33rd yet, so we'll just have to make sure whoever's receiving those materials on that side receive them before the meeting. Okay, great. Land use isn't present, so we'll wait till the general to hear from Wayne. That takes us to housing, Indiana.
Thank you. We had a great February meeting. We also had Tanisha join us. Thank you. But we had a couple of I think big ideas that I would love to put on you guys' radar and get some feedback about. We had Diana Pichardo, make sure I got her last name right, came, and she works for Assembly Member de Los Santos's office, and talked to us a little bit about some of the things that they're fighting for in the budget. And also, she was amazing because we hadn't talked about her doing this, but she also gave us a sense of like the budget timelines and some of how the discretionary budget items get circulated, like whether it's a budget line item or there are these like budget request letters and there's discretionary funding, and kind of just gave us a sense of like the timeline for when those things happen, which was super, super helpful. One of the things that she mentioned the assembly member is interested in doing is increasing state funded housing vouchers. There was a pilot program last year, I've got the name right here, that was funded at $50,000, excuse me, $50 million, I think is the pilot. But they're now asking for 200 million this year. The governor in her executive budget that was just released kept the amount at the pilot level. And so I think that there's just a push to try and significantly expand that. It's the New York State Housing Access Voucher Pilot Program. And so it's 50 million as a pilot, and the ask is to fund it at 200 million. And she mentioned that Assemblymember Al Taylor also supported this, and Senator Jackson. So we're going to try and reach out to them and see if we get a little bit more information. But that was something that we talked about potentially doing a resolution on. Along the same lines with housing and vouchers, the other recommendation was to see if we can get the chair of the housing committee, I believe it's Rosenthal, to see if she may be able to come and speak to us about like some of the big issues that are, some of the big changes, I think, that are happening with housing funding. She also mentioned to us, because we had asked her, like, what can we do in terms of food insecurity? We know that SNAP benefits are going to be cut. Those rollouts will be coming soon, I think starting in 2027. And so one of the things that she mentioned to us is that even though organizations in our, sorry, and I know I'm running out of time, even though our organizations in our district and throughout the city are being vocal, they've not yet really coalesced in terms of organizing and raising awareness about the cuts. And so she recommended, you know, we asked her, like, what could we do? And so she recommended that we connect with the Alliance for Hunger Free New York and try to work with them to come up with either a resolution, but also like trying to invite them more to our meetings, or potentially to, if we like wanted to put together some sort of event or join any events that maybe they put together. So she's going to connect me with them and I will keep you guys posted. But likely our next resolution will be about SNAP funding cuts and how the state needs to step up. And then very quickly, I just wanted to let you guys know that we had another visit from the organizer, one of the like volunteer organizers for the No More Crumbs event. Is like a rally and a march. So I'm going to turn my camera around so you guys can see the flyer and I can circulate it. I just got it today.
And Deanna, what was
And
the name of that organization that she told you to reach out to regarding
it's
food?
Alliance for Hunger Free New York.
Thank you.
She also recommended reaching out to West Side Community Pantry, which we're going to do. And maybe one last thing I'll throw in about that is when we asked, like, what could we do kind of on the ground, she talked about the Midnight Run effort, and it's run through Mother Cabrini Church. They meet during a certain day, and they'll meet and make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and then at night they've got volunteers who go out and give them to folks who are unhoused. So we thought, like, how can we put that like information either, I intend to raise it at our general board meeting, but like, how can we get information about opportunities like that on our website? And for example, maybe we can't do the midnight run, but we could have folks who want to volunteer for the sandwich making. So that was a question actually that we had. Is that something that we could post, like volunteer opportunities on our website?
Yes.
Okay. And then the final thing, I can't figure out how to turn my camera around. So I'm just gonna turn my phone around. uh, well, there.
Oh,
That's the flyer. I'm gonna email it to you guys, but I just wanted to like get it in the shot for those who are watching us on Zoom. It's basically on February 28th. They're meeting at Harlem Hospital, 506 Lenox Avenue at noon. That's when the community meets up. There'll be a rally at 12:30. A march, it will be relatively short, starts at 1 p.m. and another rally at 1:30, ending at the Adam Clayton Powell Jr. State Office Building, which is at 163 West 125th Street. And I know I went way over, so I'm sorry, but thank you.
all good. Just two flags for you. I know we've been chatting offline about if the
Yes.
committee wants to take a position on the Tenants Bill of Rights bill in Albany. I think that would
Yes.
be a great one for us to take on. And then since March will be the Youth and Education Committee's public hearing at the end of the month, if we can, I'd like to organize still an Inwood rezoning update that focuses on the housing commitments in April.
Yes, and I think that would be good because hopefully I can connect with Kiana early in March about that.
That'd be great.
And I finally figured out how to rotate my camera, so I'm just gonna do that for 2 seconds so folks can see the full flyer. And I'll circulate it in the email. Thank you.
Please do. Thank you so much. That turns now to health, but Steve is not here, so the next is business development. Radia Barnes.
Good evening, everybody. We had a good meeting at the beginning of February. We had two representatives from Small Business Services, Intergovernmental Affairs speak. They presented on the different services that Small Business Services offers. They touched on the business solution centers that are available to small businesses, the financial assistance that they offer, a team called NYC Best that helps with compliance and licensing, commercial lease assistance, and WBE certification support, support for women entrepreneurs, emergency and resiliency services for small business services, and hiring support that's offered through Workforce One centers. They gave all the information on how businesses can reach out, get any type of assistance, and be able to speak with people one-on-one or have one-on-one coaches, mentoring. A lot of information was provided, so that was a good presentation. And then we also had Community League of the Heights, also known as Cloth. They jumped on really quick just to give a brief overview on the Broadway bid. We're going to touch a little bit more on that and go deeper at our March meeting. But we did have some updates on that. And then we had our former chair, Joel, he jumped on as well. He's currently now at the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone, and he just talked a little bit about what he's doing there and some things that he has planned for the future. And I think basically that was it. Like I said, next month we're going to be touching more on the bid, discussing that. We have a couple representatives, people from the steering committee that will come on and give us some updates and see how we may be able to assist, push things along. Cloth does come on monthly to try to give us some little update, but it's never like a full detail. So hopefully we'll be able to dig in March.
Thanks, Radia.
Mhm.
And another update from the former chair of business development. You may recall, I think it was in the fall of last year, we had passed a resolution supporting Ponce Bank's application to the New York State Department of Financial Services for a business development district in Inwood. The New York Department of Financial Services approved the application. I got eager. I responded to Ponce Bank and said, hey, I would love to do a press release out of the community board. And they were like, no, please don't do that because we have to work with DFS to message it correctly. But the moment I get some steering on how to message that, we'll put out a press release and congratulate them on that approval. We're really excited to see that come to life. All right, and turning now to last but certainly not least, Mary Anderson, Concerns of the Aging.
Hi, everybody. Just want to say that we had a lively discussion at our last meeting about ageism and all of the things that relate to that word. Lots of input from not only committee members, but the public who attends our meeting on a regular basis. And we're hoping to continue, we're going to continue that discussion at our next meeting. And minutes will be available soon, I hope. Everyone's working on that. Oops. I just did something. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I did something to my screen. I don't know what happened, but I'll figure it out afterwards. I just want to thank the board and the administrative committee for putting the announcement for Pupil Theater production in the newsletter. And I've had a great response from everybody and from all of the people I interact with in the community and my other organizations as well. So looking forward to those performances. And I just want to say, because of rehearsal times, I will not be able, I'll send an email, but I won't be able to attend the general meeting next week because we have rehearsal every night next week. So, but my vice chair and also Richard Allman, who is, I want to give a shout out to because he actually initiated this great discussion on ageism, and between the two of them, they will give the report of my committee meeting. That's all I have.
Great, thank you, Mary. Before we end, just one announcement that I wanted to share with the executive committee. So last month's general meeting, you recall we met virtually and we changed up the order of the agenda items such that the elected officials' reports came a little bit later. During the elected officials' reports, I noticed one of the representatives in particular did not set quite a great example for how those reports should have been conducted, particularly in their tone, the way they responded to some questions. And so I immediately after the meeting, after consulting other elected officers of this board, decided to send an email to that person's superior, informing them of what I've observed and letting them know that what's important is, especially as we're in this recruitment period, that we are establishing a safe space for all board members to ask questions during those elected official representative reports. Unfortunately, I was not met with the response I thought I would be met with, and in fact, the office decided to deny any malfeasance occurring, anything related to that person's tone. In response to that, what I am deciding to do, and I hope I have the support of this body, is I will be moving the entirety of the elected officials' reports to the very end of the agenda this month. It is an action that other boards have taken. The only one I can't do that for, obviously, is the Manhattan Borough President's report. They appoint us, they have their own agenda item, and they do not want to be moved to the end. So I will be leaving them where they are, but the rest will have to speak at the very end of the meeting. Obviously, the board has to adopt that agenda, but I want the executive committee to be aware that that is a decision that I am taking. Any questions about that? I won't get into the specific names here. If any of you want to speak offline about it, happy to do that, but any questions? Okay, seeing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Hey, Chair, I'm sorry. I just jumped back in. I have a bit of a break. I just have to, not sure if you guys spoke about it. Last week on Thursday, we had our first
Yes, thanks.
recruitment event of the year. We had a great turnout. It's unfortunate that we only had a couple board members show up. Noemi and Anthony and myself were there, but we had about 33, is what I gathered, head count. People show up from the community. It wasn't specific to the running club that we partnered with. We had people who saw some of our socials and attended. So we have some prospective potential candidates for both public members and community board members. We're planning to do another one next Wednesday. I encourage all board members to show up. I think the beauty of this is that people get to not only find out our actual function and what we do, but see that we all very differently. We all have different opinions and perspectives. So I do encourage you. I mentioned it before. I think one of my initiatives this year is to really get out to the community, boost engagement and participation. That is now added to education. Part of the conversations we had with people who attended that event was that they didn't know what the board does or who we were, function. So I think it's kind of reworking things and actually educating our community that we are actually here. This is the very basis of our democracy, right? At the local level. So I do encourage every board member. The flyers should go out tomorrow, Wednesday, since being finalized and approved by the chair. And this is just we're not gonna partner. It's a little too short notice, and the board applications are due next Friday. So we're kind of pushing the event through. Um, it would be at the Fort Washington Public House. That's pending, but again, waiting on confirmation on that. But I just wanted to put that out there for you guys. I really do hope we get some of our community board members to come out, talk about what we do, and really encourage people to apply, whether it's for a board member or a public member. Thank you.
No, thank you, Leo, for that reminder. I will take responsibility from less board members coming. It was in our newsletter, and it was on the Link NYC kiosks and social media, which I think contributed to the great turnout in addition to Leo's work and Noemi's work. For the next one, I will send an email directly to the board so that board members also have that detail in their inbox. Eleazar, I see you have a question.
Yeah, Leo, thank you. We've been talking about this for a while now, and I'm glad, so happy that you delivered on your word. That means a whole lot in the fact that you actually are getting out there and hitting the pavement. And I think, Anthony, as a suggestion is that I think that we should really own up to that initiative. Public perception for the most part is that we are some sort of private club, that only the privileged ones get a membership to belong. That's perception. I'm not saying that that's the truth. I think that I think that I know how hard it is to dedicate your time and your free time to this endeavor. I get it. However, I think that what Leo is doing should be replicated and imitated. We all have strong opinions on just about anything that we put on the table. We're extremely opinionated, extremely articulated. So let's put our words where it counts. Let's get some people involved. Let's come through as a body. Let's not just leave it up to the few. Let's just speak on behalf of the many. Thank you, Anthony, for the time.
Thank you. Alexis, I saw you had a hand.
No, I just wanted to tell you, I've been getting feedback that people have been seeing the Link NYC ads. Actually, somebody from my building asked me today, they have an issue and they said, oh, I saw, so-and-so, and I just want to know what's the right committee I should go to, because people have been seeing those, the announcements on Link NYC. So word is out. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Thank you. Heidi.
Yeah, just quickly, I think at the next general meeting, I don't know, I can't remember if we did this for January, but just to highlight that like the social media is up and running, because I remember when I first joined the board, I had heard something about like being locked out of accounts, so I actually didn't know that we were posting on Instagram until I heard I heard how the mixer went. So I think just putting another plug to follow, I think is beneficial.
Yeah, I was able to get access to Instagram. The old Facebook page that has 2,000 followers is still in this gray area, but everything else is up and running. So thank you. If there are no other comments, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. Thank you. It is 8:25. We are adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.
Night, everyone.